I've said it before very recently, but I'm going to say it again. I'm looking forward to the season. I really am. I know we can't read anything into pre-season friendlies. End of. And I know there's a lot of people saying, well, hold on, the last time we won all our pre-season friendlies or we didn't lose, it was under Avram Grant, we went down. And I just think, you almost were trying to really put a negative spin on it for saying that. Because for that to be true, then Avram Grant has to be a comparable manager to David Moyes. And he's really not. David Moyes is 10 times the manager Avram Grant was, of course. I'm looking forward to it. I thought we played some really good football in there. I was really pleased with how we controlled the ball. And I think certainly over the last couple of weeks, while we've all been concentrating on our lack of signings, it's taken the limelight, the spotlight away from Declan Rice and his his potential transfer away from West Ham. And actually, looking at him play yesterday, he's sensational. We really have to keep him. If we keep him, I've got no problem about his attitude or anything like that. He's such a good player. He's just going to be one of the best players in the league next season. And I think so good. Forget the PFA Young Player of the Year. I think Declan Rice is so good. He could be in with a shout of being the player of the year, in contention at the final 6, the final 8, or whatever it is in the whole Premier League. That's how good he is. And I think if you've got players like that and some of the others that I'm about to talk about in a minute, you ain't heading for a season of struggle. You're really not. But keeping Declan is pivotal. And I'd certainly much rather be in our situation of having kept our star player than Aston Villa's, whereby they've actually lost their star player and they've got to replace him. Now, those signings may or may not work out. I have a suspicion that actually those signings are really good and Aston Villa have a good season, particularly as they're not in Europe. But I'd much rather be in a position that we're in, which is to keep our star player, our £100 million player, or whatever you want to call it. But I thought it was a really enjoyable performance, particularly the likes of Declan and Souček and obviously Soufal were back. We got to see Areola, whose nickname is going to be either Harry or 25, and we will. I'd be interested to know if anybody here can work out why Areola's nickname is going to be 25. I will explain it at some point. Anyway, I had the lads over last Saturday for the Brentford game, and it was Nick and Tone between them came up with that particular one. By the way, Tone was at the game yesterday. He did actually send me some interesting footage from the ground where some people were bouncing a ball around and just having generally a very, very good time as well. And some people got dressed up, which I thought was great. But it was great to have fans back in the stadium as well. If it wasn't for the fact that they were advising you get checked in 2 hours early, I might have gone myself. But it becomes sort of, with that, becomes an 8-9 hour trip. And that just wasn't happening yesterday for me, unfortunately. But it looked really good. But back onto the players, and let's just start with Benrahma, who I thought was sensational, by the way. I think Benrahma is actually going to be liberated by Jesse Lingard not signing. And just hear me out on this. I mean, some of you may agree anyway that's the case. That I just feel that with Lingard in there, so much of the onus was on Lingard to do the creating. Benrahma got pushed to the periphery somewhat. And I think it's quite good that Lingard was the main man. Would it be good for Benrahma for him to be the main man for a little while? And what I actually liked about it, actually, something I didn't like had to happen in order for something I did like to happen. So I don't like seeing Fornals pushed out to the left too much. However, he was, and that sort of allowed Benrahma to operate more centrally, and I quite liked that. And I'm sure there's a way where they can both be deployed in their favourite positions, but he's such a workhorse for Fornals that it almost doesn't matter, does it? So I really liked Benrahma being liberated there. I still think we need to replace Lingard in terms of a squad number, an attacking player, but somebody, somebody that can be deployed wide and deployed centrally. We'll talk about Danjuma again, actually, when we do our next sort of One Football Roundup, because I've made a couple of observations about him, which I want to talk about. There's also something else where Milenkovic, the bid for Milenkovic, apparently has been turned down. We've not met the valuation. It's to talk about that now is going to be quite negative because I'm quite annoyed about it, and I don't really want to after a game like that. So maybe we'll deal with that tomorrow. I will actually be later on. I'll be doing a live with Gonzo on the main channel later on this afternoon, early evening, something like that. So please do join me for that, and we'll do a live chat and this, that, and the other. I think also, so looking at it, Benrahma's a really, really good thing, but we do need to replace Jesse Lingard because the squad is thin. But Benrahma's ready. I think Benrahma can be a serious player, and I don't mean a serious player just for West Ham, but a serious player in terms of one of the players to watch in the Premier League. And I'm really pleased that we signed him, and actually the longer it's gone on, actually it almost looks a shrewder signing this season than it did last season. In essence, maybe we got him not a season too early, but it takes him a season to flower, as it were. And I think we're ready for something, quite special from him as well. So I was delighted to see that. Talking about Rice, I just thought Rice grew into the game. He really did. He started off just sort of shielding the back four, but the longer it went on, the more marauding he became. And it's really hard to talk up that player any more than you already have done. I mean, we're just dealing with an international class player there who's operating. He's 22 or 23. I was going to say he's operating close to the peak of his game. He's nowhere near it yet. He's just going to get better, isn't he? So I look forward to him. I look forward to him being at West Ham. I really do. Regardless, there's no point cashing in on him. They're not going to get a better player in his position than him. I go back to talk about Aston Villa again and Grealish. Look, they get Todd Cantwell or Buendia. They've already got whoever they get. He's unlikely to be better than Grealish. Grealish was their captain. Grealish is a phenomenon, really. He is statistically the best dribbler in the whole league. So it's quite obvious the stat, isn't it? Basically, one of those guys that comes in has got to be the best dribbler in the Premier League. Bailey's coming as well. It's just they're unlikely to be better than Jack Grealish. That's all I'm saying. If those guys were better than Jack Grealish, then Pep Guardiola would have signed them. And there's my point. Look, we're not going to get a better player than Declan Rice, so let's just keep him. Souček was it was just good to have him back. Nothing spectacular from Souček, but again, as the game went on, he got better and better. And I thought the same with Soufal as well. Just to go on to something, because I didn't really want to entitle the video commentary, because I've already done. That'd be my fourth kind of commentary video. But look, when you do videos every day, you're going to end up, there's going to be some sort of cross-pollination, let's be fair, in videos anyway. So I just think he looks ready. And one of the things that, when I say ready, not ready to take Souček or Rice's place, but ready to play his part. And then you look at that. I don't know what happened to Lanzini yesterday. Maybe you already know by the time we upload this. But when you actually look at that midfield, and that was a good midfield, and I thought Muriel, I'm talking about Atalanta here, when Muriel and Zapata, who we've been linked with loads of times, came on, that improved Atalanta, who are a Champions League team, by the way. But we still dominated midfield, and I thought that was really telling. We dominated the midfield when Souček and Rice were playing there. But actually then Noble came on, hit the ground running, found a pace of the game straight away, Noble. And then I thought with Coventry next to him, Noble and Coventry, we still dominated the midfield. I thought, wow, this is really, really good. I thought when you had Fornals there doing all his running as well and really getting stuck in, he was all over the pitch, really. Fornals, a bit of a fortunate goal in the end. But he deserved it, because I think it'd be interesting to see when they're both fit and firing, who is the fittest player in the squad, whether it's Souček or Fornals. But the fact that there's an argument about it is a good thing. I think you could probably chuck Rice in there as well, and possibly Soufal as well. I'm actually talking about just ridiculous work rate that we're getting through here. I'm not talking about explosive fitness. Explosive fitness is Mikel Antonio by a country mile, isn't it? But in terms of that sort of marathon stuff, do you know what I mean? Just churning out mile after mile after mile after mile. These guys are absolute machines. So I understand there might be some competition for the title of fittest player at West Ham, but I think Fornals was certainly be in with a shout of being the top guy, So I think he just sort of deserved his deflected, fluky goal. A little bit unlucky for Benrahma. But let's also let's give some credit. Let me give some credit to Fredericks, who I looked at him and I thought, I'm not Frederick's biggest fan. I think sometimes his technique lets him down. Not sometimes, too often his technique lets him down. But he does have some really good qualities in terms of his pace. But I do think his crossing has improved a little bit. And actually he was crucial. Frederick was crucial in that last goal. And I actually thought he gave, as well as Soufal played, and Soufal really did play well, I thought Fredericks offered another dynamic down that right side. I understand the formation shifted slightly because Cresswell moved to centre half. And then Johnson went a left wing back and Fredericks more right wing back. However, I thought he gave him posed a different problem. And I think that's really good. So I think he's a good squad player to have. And I look at, and there are areas of the squads that actually I think are quite strong. And sort of full-back, wing-back is quite strong, really. You can understand why another centre-back is needed. I thought Diop's clumsy. I thought Diop was a bit clumsy. I thought Dawson's just a warrior. Do you see when he smacked his head? He looked like he might have concussion. He just leapt to get on that. And he just almost climbed, just rose above everybody. And then he went off, had his bit of treatment, got taken off the sidelines, came on again. And then if you look at that back, within 2 minutes, he did the same thing again, bang over. He's just so committed. So committed. A very, very good defender. I'm delighted we got him. That is, for whatever we paid him, £3 million. That is a bargain. That is a bargain. He is... You may be able to look at some of the top teams and Diaz and different people that they have at centre half, Van Dijk certainly. You know what I mean. There's a number of sort of marquee central defenders who cost above £50 million. But then you've got this group of central defenders who are about £20 million, some of them, and I am not convinced many of them are that much better than Craig Dawson. I'll tell you that much. So I'm really, really, really pleased to have him. I do think, anyway, we'll look at the centre-back and we'll do the transfer things more. This is more about the Atalanta game. Just looking to see who else was there. Yeah, Connor Coventry, I've mentioned. I just think he's... Look, he passes, he moves, he looks for space. He passes, he moves, he looks for space. Long passing, short passing. He's not as athletic as you'd like him to be, but neither's Mark Noble. He's no slower than Mark Noble is. They look similar type players in many respects, actually. I really like it. I really like what I see from this guy. And I think if you've got Lanzini there as well, and Noble and Coventry, I'm not saying don't go out and buy a central midfielder, but it does it almost takes the pressure off. But the pressure is on big time to get a striker. And to get someone up there to help Antonio out, to help the squad out. Antonio went off, and we didn't really play with a recognised striker in that sense. I know we chucked Bowen up there, and then for the goal, Benrahma was sort of in there, and Fornell was up there. We can't constantly expect these other guys to be shoehorned in there. And I think by the fact that David Moyes had excluded Mipo Odebeko, it was really quite clear what he thinks about that. He's not prepared to use him. And this is something I've been saying in all the build-up to this season. What I don't really care how much we pay for players. I just want players who Moyes is going to want to use. Got so much faith in Moyes and the fact he's managed to retain the bulk of his coaching staff. And I'm hopeful that losing Alan Irvine, not from the club, because he's still at the club, but losing Alan Irvine from beside him on the bench, so to speak, is not going to hinder us too much. I think keeping Nevin, keeping Pearson, keeping Nolan was hugely crucial to West Ham. I think those are massive signings that have probably been underplayed, keeping that backroom team together. They would have been coveted by other people. But so I think that's a massive thing. But my point is, when Moyes looks on that bench, I want him to have players that he thinks, I want him. As I say, I don't care if they're 30, 40 million, or I don't care if they're a loan signing. I've been quite adamant about this because I have bought into the coaching process, the style of play, the ethos of what the management team are trying to do. But there's no point having people that he's not going to use, and clearly he's not going to use Odebeko. So actually, I really want him. Do you know what? I've gone past caring which striker it is. I just want it to be the striker that Moyes wants. because I've got so much faith in him. I'm putting, I think that's going to be, whoever he chooses is going to be decent anyway. So actually, I'm looking forward to the start of the season. Despite it being a bogey team, it's not going to be an easy place to go, Newcastle. It's not going to. It's going to be tough. They're going to have the fans back there. Newcastle probably better than they were last season. They won't think so themselves because they're unhappy with their ownership and they don't really rate Steve Bruce. But they're not going to get rid of Steve Bruce because the owner's not going to pay the payoff. So, and Steve Bruce kept them up. So it's going to be a hard place to go. They've got a good record against us, but I'm looking forward to it. I think Moyes will be ready as well. Well, definitely Moyes will be ready. I just really liked what I saw from the team. I think it's exciting. I was disappointing to then sort of 2 or 3 hours after the game to read the thing about the failed bid, and that's why I'll deal with that tomorrow. I didn't want it to override the positivity of what I felt for the season, and the players in hand. And I look at these youngsters. I'm waffling on a bit now, but I look at these youngsters. I'm pleased with Coventry. You know what? If we don't buy a central midfielder, as we were never going to buy a world-class central midfielder that was going to displace Souček and Rice, we were going to buy a central midfielder that was going to be an understudy and a bit of cover. Well, if we decide we don't need that central midfielder because Coventry's going to do that job, I'm okay with that. That's fine. That's fine. I think Johnson. I'm really pleased for Johnson actually and what he's going to do. So I don't mind there being squad places for the youngsters. I don't mind having a squad of 22, 23 usable players. That's fine. I don't think we need a squad of 30, particularly when you can only register 25 anyway. It's fine. I don't mind that. Particularly as they're going to dovetail and do different positions, but we are thin, really thin up front, and I think that certainly needs to be dealt with. But anyway, overall, really impressed, really pleased, looking forward to the season. We're a really good team, and I do think Benrahma is going to bring a really, really interesting dynamic to the team this season. I'm looking forward to it. Bring on, it's next week, right? It's a week's time. Bring on a week's time, start the Premier League season. West Ham travelling all the way up to Newcastle. Can't wait.